What is a woman? Does life begin at conception? Are liberal Democrats all going to hell for supporting a communist regime? All questions religious conservatives keep on asking. Instead of, I don't know, does our God even exist? Am I being taken advantage of? Or should we really be trusting that priest with our child? For plenty of years, Republicans and conservative people all around the world have been effective in taking their supporter base down the river of culture war bullshit, co-opting what, in a vacuum, seems just like a normal religious talking point, and turning it into something that furthers the conservative agenda. For example, Republicans hate the idea of gay people existing. Bam! They go against gay marriage. Republicans want full autonomy over women because they believe that men are superior. Bam! They go after reproductive health. It's fairly clear from the outside that these religious zealots have been victims of conservative hegemony for quite a while. But will that make me stop making fun of them? No. Today we're going to be ranking what I believe are some of the best religious atrocities. And I assure you, they just all happen to be at the hands of Republicans and Republican supporters. Let's get into it. The existence of theist Brooks.
Far more people who go through with that procedure regret it than those who choose not to.
That's just wrong. There was a recent Australian study, actually, shout out to the boys, abortion regret rates. A large-scale Australian study found that approximately 95% of women reported that having an abortion was the right decision even 5 years later. The presence of social stigma and lack of social support are associated with more negative emotions after an abortion. So let's say Brooks has a sister. He looks like he would have a romantic interest in her, but I digress. Let's say Brooks has a sister. She gets an abortion after an assault. Brooks tells her, no, you're going to hell. I know, I'm a Bible scholar. You're going to hell. Brooks says that to her. She starts feeling distressed over the abortion because of social stigmas.
Brooks Phillips is a classic case of religious mediocrity. What do I mean by that? He's somewhat religious enough to be relevant on TikTok, but not relevant enough to actually do anything about it for his future Republican donors. He has a Patreon where he publishes essays for his 6 supporters and a Christian-specific merch site that looks like arse. So why is he relevant in the context of this video? Because even though he is a religious thought leader for Gen Z on TikTok, the videos he uploads about women's rights, schizo posting about the ever-existence trans agenda, anything to do with white supremacist talking points is what gets his views, all disguised through a religious lens that appeal to, you know, conservative religious people who want their opinions on which groups of people should exist to be communicated, you know? Anything to do with white supremacist talking points disguised through religion is what gets him views. Brooks thinks speaking in a deep voice, holding the camera above his shoulder, and talking slowly is what it takes to take him seriously. Even though when you search his name on TikTok, you have videos debunking all of his talking points for double the views he gets. It's kind of sad that no one gives a fuck about what he thinks about the Bible and its scholars. All the people want from him is white supremacy and dunking on liberals, which just goes to show how meaningless his and his supporter base's religion actually is. It is serving as a means to own the libs and vote Republican. So for him being of zero consequence out of TikTok, he is going into the D tier. I would argue that one of the main tenets of being a religious conservative is caring about your family, right? You work so hard to preserve what you think should constitute a family. You know, the whole Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve type shift. So does someone want to tell that to our Republican leadership real quick?
That you are born a sinner, that you are not
Oh, how the fuck? I looked away for 1 second and he pops up on my screen. Jesus. 1 second, I'm just Googling Russell Brand allegations. Russell Brand granted bail on rape and assault charges. So of course he has to appear on a conservative podcast. It's a safe haven for them because their president is also an abuser and a fucking rapist.
The C tier is dedicated to some of our best in red, failing to uphold the sanctity of marriage under our one true God and Savior, Jesus Christ. Adam D'Esposito, a Republican from New York, hired his mistress into a congressional admin role with his fiance's daughter. Big ouchie coming from the Family First Party. Kevin Paxton, the Texan Attorney General, was rocked by his wife's divorce filing on biblical grounds. Yikes, where a court filing found the reason for divorce being committing adultery. But we all know how conservatives react to court filings these days, don't we? Jeff Duncan, a South Carolinian Republican, also rocked by divorce papers and is now living with his mistress. Real family first from the Family First Party, right guys? Okay, enough of those irrelevant white men. Marjorie Taylor Greene allegedly started 2 affairs from 2 men from her CrossFit gym, one of which apparently is a sex guru. Kinky shit, Marge, which isn't even the worst thing that she's done. She blamed the LA fires on space lasers, compared masks and vaccines to the Holocaust, celebrated the death of a pope, and calls for the eradication of the trans community. Given her history, this is either the same brainworm that is currently eating RFK's brain, or some weird mind-controlling mutation of crabs she caught from that sex guru boyfriend of hers.
I don't think that that's right, Jesus is king, and I don't think that we've seen...
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
So what's missing from this clip is the context. Kamala Harris was talking at a pro-choice rally about the necessity of abortion, right? Then you have these weirdos who come in and want to interject their religion on the matter. Start screaming, Jesus is king, Jesus is Lord. It's not a religious matter for us progressives, right? It's healthcare. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Last but not least, we have Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, and his alleged Grindr account. Now, even if this turns out not to be true at all, this seems like something he'd have hiding, so I'm going to believe it on that rationale, which is the same rationale that MAGA supporter Joe Rogan used about Tim Walz. And again, even if this wasn't real, that doesn't stop Mike Johnson from being a perverted creep, having his daughter take a purity vow at 13 years old, and having his wife set up gay conversion camps for youth. Real creepy family, that one. And you know what? All of this just to say, are we surprised? Are we surprised that a group of staunch religious freaks who have no issues taking the time to try eradicate the LGBTQI+ community just for fun, who blame black culture for the existence of systemic racism, who had no issue putting a pedophile rapist onto the most powerful seat in the world? Are we surprised that that group of people also turn out to be pieces of shit? No. For that reason alone, for that lack of surprise, for that reason alone, I'm going to be putting them in the C tier.
For the conservatives watching, I'll read it out to you. I know your literacy rates are a bit low in the red states. If you need a reason to unfollow me, I love Jesus. Honey, we don't know who you are. I am a proud Republican. I am a Christian. I voted for our president and have zero regrets. Zero regrets voting for a pedophile who's blocking the release of the Epstein files. Hey, sure, you do you. I would say I'm not one to judge, but I mean, I've never voted for a rapist.
I think the existence of Lauren Boebert has always rubbed me the wrong way. I think mainly because of the last name, Boebert. She sounds like a Republican villain in a movie that gets stuck in a trash compactor and killed in a very, very goofy way. One thing that has also rubbed me the wrong way was her getting rubbed the wrong way in public. Now, this whole family is fucked. Her son pled guilty to child abuse after becoming a father at 17. He looks like a school shooter. So, you know, he's probably Republican as well. Anyway, she was groped in a theater, she reciprocated and tugged off her partner. Security was called, they all left. Just the usual weekend for a family value conservative, calling for the eradication of trans people with the rationale of them being overtly sexual. Also in B tier, Matt Gaetz' allegations of human trafficking. Now, it's in B tier because of that word, allegations. So let's rattle off some other things that he allegedly did. According to a very robust report published by Bipartisan Congress, he paid for sex with a minor, paid for sex, period. He sent hush money to plenty of people to keep it on the down low, trafficked prostitutes across state lines, and resigned the day after the probe came out. Come on, Matt, that makes you look guilty if you just resign like that. Don't you know you're just supposed to become the president of the United States to avoid the allegations? For their incredible fall off from the public eye, for better or for worse, they both kind of give me the creeps. They will be staying in the B tier. This next segment will be dedicated to Republican irony. Firstly, we have LGBTQI+ authors being banned from schools. Republicans can't seem to grasp that the existence of the gay community is just something that they're gonna have to deal with, which is ironic since conservative men all over the world have no issue ordering the Charlie Kirk Starbucks drink from a barista who's probably very out and about and proud, kind of like them for ordering the Charlie Kirk drink in the first place. In an attempt to eradicate the existence of the queer community, Republicans have been calling for bans for books that presented any sort of pornographic material, lumping in homosexuality with that categorization because it served their goal of social eugenics. Now, where have we seen book banning and book burning before? Moreover, the inclusion of queerness alongside pornographic material is both a self-report and a justification for genocide. And then they turn around and play the victim when they're told not to be Nazis anymore. As a result of all the backlash coming from the book banning, a Utah school district banned the Bible from their schools under the pretense that, incest, prostitution, genital mutilation, rape, infanticide aren't good things to be teaching kids about. But who are we to expect conservatives to understand a little bit of irony when they can't understand that rape and incest might not be the best things to be teaching kids about? Next on our list was sparked by our new Pope Leo when he told supporters that supporting the death penalty is inconsistent with being pro-life, which threw conservatives on Twitter for a spin. See, their rationale is abortion is punishment for the baby, for the mistakes of its parents, whereas the death penalty is capital punishment punishing the criminal for his mistakes. So in saying that, there are two things that stick out to me. One, it is not a baby, it is a clump of cells. I don't care if you think life starts at conception. You know what else starts at conception? A sourdough starter. And two, why were Republicans calling for the death penalty for two people, Luigi Mangione and Tyler Robinson, when they had no due process to account them as guilty? Therein lies the rationale behind pro-life, pro-death penalty Republicans. They want their own sets of rules to play by to punish whoever they fucking want, compounded by the aforementioned categorization of social groups into predatory social roles. We tend to narrow in on their intent to instate the death penalty for their enemies. The same group of people yanking civilians off the street after their immigration ceremony, out of cars in school zones to deport them. Consistency is not their strong suit, is it? In all, both will be going into our A tier, genuine threats to our democracy, whilst having the accessibility of becoming talking points at every single fucking election, perpetuated by the same type of loser who has enough time to stand outside of abortion centers. Last but not least, we have the S tier.
The propaganda is on every channel. They think we stupid like the truth is just too hard to handle. But
is it worth me watching this? Is it worth my mental health to go along with this video? We'll see. We'll see how long.
Devil lives in California. He a politician. He passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California. Should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that. They say that. They love America.
Isn't he Canadian?
Dedicated to two men who I think typify what it means to be a superficial Republican Christian. One of whom was shot by a registered Republican at an outdoor event held for Republicans. And the other of whom was also shot by a registered Republican at an outdoor event held by Republicans. The common denominator for that violence, of course, is being surrounded by Republicans. Charlie Kirk was born to be a conservative mouthpiece, in a sense that he was never really good at anything other than debating children and being racist. He fell victim to one of his most loved things about the United States, gun violence. It's just ironic that it happened at the hands of his main demographic, white men, rather than one he despised of, everyone else. Charlie liked to claim that he was a follower of Christ. He had a very holy funeral held in a football stadium where none of his friends and family spoke at all. His wife Erica Kirk took the mantle of CEO for Turning Point USA, to the dismay of all Turning Point USA fans everywhere for having a woman CEO. Charlie was a holy man and a holy father, claiming that if his child were to be raped, she would carry that baby to term. And given the amount of effort he put into putting a rapist in the most powerful position in the US, makes that sentiment even more sussy. Charlie claimed to be following in the footsteps of Jesus. I must have missed the chapter of the Bible where he started a podcast and started blaming black people for everything and called for the eradication of the gay community, which would be ironic coming from a man who got nailed by Roman men and came back for more after 3 days. All of this just to say the existence of Charlie Kirk is a paradox. On one hand, he says he loves Jesus. On the other hand, he would waste no time in calling for his deportation back to Palestine because he's a terrorist. People who think Charlie was anything other than a racist CEO that fed off making the working class angry is kidding themselves. But for having a net worth of $15 million alone off of the back of these poor conservative suckers, he's going into the S tier. Lastly, Donald J. Trump will be going into our S tier. What can we say that hasn't already been said by court documents? What can we say that hasn't already been said by his former staff members who distanced themselves after he tried to overturn the 2020 election? But let me guess, conservatives, that never happened. Let's go through what has happened though. Trump took office and immediately opened a new meme coin. A meme coin. None of those words just spoken are in the Bible. He created a meme coin to lure in Gen Z men to make him rich, which he achieved at. He is currently selling a Trump brand watch during a government shutdown that he's blaming the Democrats for, whilst his constituents block the release of the Epstein files. He is also selling a Trump brand Bible, which screams blasphemy to me, but I guess that's a new normal for conservatives. Trump is also selling 2028 campaign merch, which, if he lives that long, will breach laws surrounding a 2-term limit for presidents. I knew fascism was on its way to the United States, but this, I didn't think it would look this fucking stupid. Republican Christians, you tell me how any of that is, one, of the best interest of the community, and two, living in the ways of Jesus Christ. You all are happy enough to post AI images of Charlie Kirk and Trump being with Jesus, which is definitely not a cultish thing to do. Tell me how you expect Trump to get into heaven after all of this. He even said he's not going to heaven recently. Religious conservatives, religion Republicans, you know what you're doing. You know the party you voted into power don't give a fuck about the teachings of the Bible. You know that the representatives you voted for do nothing of value for the key tenets of your religion. Instead, they do what they can to follow your key tenets on your racism, your bigotry, your need to control women's autonomy. So spare me the outrage of me not giving a fuck about a creator made up in a book filled with contradictions and errors, about me not giving a fuck about you using religion as a means to an end for your fascism, and about me not giving a fuck as to whether you make it into heaven or not, because we both know you won't.